Hi everyone, and welcome to my December 2020 plan with me, the final plan with me of the year, and we're going festive. Not too obvious Christmas festive, but festive all the same. To start with, I've taken my favourite Christmas piece of music, which is We're Walking in the Air, the theme tune from The Snowman, and I've decided to use this sheet music to create the base layer and backing for the bullet journal, and then use that throughout my monthly spreads to add to the theme. So first of all, I'm sizing up the paper and then just sticking that in to create that base layer on the right hand side, and then I'll finish that off on the left hand side as well. Next, I want to take some craft paper to create a holiday wreath to go on top of the paper. So I wanted this to be a more rustic piece, so I'm tearing the paper from there to get to my square, and you can see I've penciled in the circle, and I also positioned 3 pieces of mistletoe as a starting point. The rest of it I've decided to do freehand this time. I'm normally quite cautious and draw everything out in advance, but I was feeling a little bit more adventurous this month. I'm taking different styles of leaves and branches, as I've said, mistletoe as well, and I'm filling up the wreath randomly with those different designs. I learned how to do these with just simply how to draw, and just googling how to draw, and then doodled those across the month just to have a little bit of practice for myself. It's really interesting to see different people's botanicals because everybody's natural drawing style seems to come out, and there's a little individuality with each of them. So I'm just going to finish round decorating the wreath and drop some extra leaves in, and you'll see the different styles that I'm using as I go along. After building up the wreath with the different leaves and botanicals, I have then decided to colour this in 2 different shades of green to create some depth. So using a paler green, which I know doesn't show up as pale on the craft paper, it's quite a rich green, and then using a deeper green to shadow some of the leaves behind. I really enjoy creating the twigs with the red berries. This was something so simple, just some random lines to make it look like random branches, and then dotting some red dots on the very end to look like the berries, and I just thought it was super effective and added a little bit of colour to the design as I went along. These were my favourite leaves to create this month, and I didn't see these online, I just created those myself, little feathers. So I started out with the black lines and just did real feathery movements, then went over the top in a sage green colour, and I felt that they were really effective to give a bit of different texture to the drawing as well. I'm now taking around the branches, doing this in a really uneven way. So at first I drew this out with a mug to keep it a nice straight circle, but I just did the rest of it freehand to create it like individual branches. My lettering that I decided to use this month was the stamps, so I got my alphabet stamps and filled in December with there. I wanted to use a mixture of stamps on this one to create the vintage look, and in addition you'll see the font that I've chosen, which is really a traditional font when I start to work through the other spreads for the month. On my quote page this month, I looked up a lot of different Christmas quotes and loved one from the Polar Express. So this is the one that I've decided to use, and to keep with the ripped paper vintagey look, I decided to take black paper for this, and then also a Sharpie gold marker to create the writing on the top. The gold marker obviously was intentional because it's a festive month as well, so it just gave that extra little bit of glisten to the month and made it a little bit more Christmassy as well. Finally, I'm adding the quote and where it came from to the bottom of the page, so using a smaller piece of black paper for that, and again the same traditional font style that I mentioned earlier to go with the stamps. And there's my cover page spread. It is a little bit busy, but I think that this page looks really nice when they're done as separates. It does look nice together, but I think separate pages almost looks a little bit better. And I'm really pleased with how the sheet music turned out. Moving into my monthly calendar spread, I'm using the black paper to create the backing this time and sticking that down, and then the brown paper I'm using to create the banner for the wording. I have a lot of tasks in the month where it doesn't matter which day of the week I do those on, and I've also found that in advance of the month, sometimes I'll have a list and I'm saying I must remember I've got to do that in that month. So I've found it easier to have a task list or monthly to-do list each month on the monthly spread page, because then that just gives me a list of what it is that I need to accomplish that month. It also acts as a little bit of a brain dump from previous months to be able to just drop things into there of what's coming up. So I've used a plain box for that, but made it a little bit more interesting by adding some wavy lines and putting some leaves on there. And for the actual calendar boxes this month, I've had a change. I normally just do a grid with everything touching, but I decided to separate things out a bit this month and have some blank spaces. It does mean that I have less places to write in, but I'm not fantastic at actually using the monthly spread. I really do try to, on birthdays and things like that, go in there, but I find once I've got my weekly spreads written out, I'm much more about putting things into those instead, and I'll tend to go and look at a week in advance and each day populate it with some other bits and pieces. I've then drawn an extra box for the top, which is going to be around growth. I'm really trying to grow my Instagram page and my YouTube channel, so I really wanted to focus on that and start to track that so I can see from one month to next what I'm doing. Finally, I've added a flourish of mistletoe to the bottom right of the page just to add some extra colour. I didn't want to use a lot of washi tape on this page. I really liked the different colours of just having the green, the red, the black and the brown. I wanted to keep it quite simple, and I think it turned out really effective. Finally, I'm moving on to my headers for this page, so I'm using the same font as I did in the gold on the cover page and using that in black to do the days of the week, and then continuing with the same theme, I'm using my stamps. My next spread is my trackers. So first of all, I'm starting with my mood trackers. So again, I wanted to keep making sure that I was using the same black, brown music papers throughout and keeping that so that it looked really together at the end of the month. So I've used the music sheet again at the top, some gold washi tape to make that pop, and this time I'm using on this page the black torn paper with the gold pen again and popping this down to make my mood tracker. I thought for quite some time there were so many different themes that I could go with for my mood tracker this month around Christmas, but I loved the mistletoe that I had been drawing, so I decided to create a big sprig of mistletoe and colour in a different sprig for each day of the week in December. I've wrapped it up with a festive bow at the top and also wanted some red berries throughout as well. my habit tracker page, I've used the brown craft paper in the corner, and again keeping the same theme with the black torn paper to create the banner. I then was super excited this month to have purchased from Notebook Therapy some lovely stamp sets around organisation bullet tracking, and I'm using the calendar stamp. Last month I did lots of circles, I did horizontal rows for my habit trackers. This month I really wanted to go back to my individual calendars. I really like that, and using a coloured pen of whatever colour theme I'm using that month. So I'm just stamping out the trackers. This is the first time using this stamp. Really liked it. I wish I'd done some more of the brown craft paper. My next spread is my brain dump page. I really don't like the term brain dump, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so every month I do a pensieve, and I use that to have reflections on there, memories, or things that I want to remember, things that I might want to do in coming months, or I don't know, general questions I might ask myself. Sometimes I stick pictures or magazine cuttings into here, other times it'll be a lot more wordy, but yeah, it's just kind of my free for where my brain goes that particular month. My final spread for the month is my content planner and also a steps tracker. So as I said earlier on in the video, I really want to focus on Instagram. I'm just thoroughly enjoying being part of the bullet journaling community. I'm loving making new friends on there. So having the content planner for the videos as well, I just really enjoy being creative on this at the moment. And this is going to help to keep me focused and doing what I enjoy throughout the month. The steps tracker, I have been tracking my steps since bullet journaling earlier this year, and I wanted to do a bigger chart on this this month. Particularly with Christmas coming up, there is the temptation to overindulge, so I thought if I focused on my steps at the start of the month, I can really rack those up and hopefully not do too much damage to the diet. And there we go, here's my final flip through of the monthly spread. I'm really enjoying what I've created this month. I love using the music, the black and the brown paper and the gold. I will definitely do that again with future spreads, and I'm liking how festive it is but not being too obvious Christmas. Hope you guys enjoy and can't wait to see your spreads for December.